Hey guys, welcome to yet another interesting segment on Home Truth Nigeria. We will take a pause on our series, Understanding the Nigerian Man. I was going through social media a few days ago and I saw a lovely Canadian lady sharing her story with her supposed Nigerian husband. I mean, someone she thought was a husband. And then I sent it to some of you on WhatsApp. I copied and I sent to some of you on WhatsApp. Then I reached out to the lovely lady and I asked her if it was okay for me to basically share her story on my platform, uh, to educate people. And she came back with a positive reply. She said, yes, yes, please do so, share it. I'm trying to create awareness. So what you would be watching in this video, this is just the part one of it. There'll be at least part two, three, maybe going forward as much as she decides to put out there. So what you'll be seeing is a young, beautiful Canadian lady who met a Nigerian man, an undocumented migrant who at that time was living in Italy, undocumented. These guys who walk from the northern part of Nigeria and then they get to Libya. From Libya, they try to cross, the Mediterranean Sea, and then they find themselves in Italy, undocumented. So this was a man who was living two lives. I'm not going to say much, but I would like you guys to watch. This lady wanted me to share. She gave me the permission, to create awareness. The reason I'm sharing this video is to make you guys understand that there's a right way to be with a Nigerian man, because not all Nigerians are evil. But the point is, 90% of you guys in the West, not because you are bad, but because you refuse to do the basic things. You'll make mistakes, and when you make mistakes, it's difficult sometimes to come out of it. So this is a lady, lovely lady now, who was shocked to see that the man she brought into the United States is now in the arms of another woman. I think she spent years with this guy. But I will not speak much until the whole series is finished on this, and then I will come back and tell you guys what really happened as a Nigerian man. So watch and take notes.
Here is a story that spans 7 years. From what started as a fairy tale, 6 trips to Italy, a wedding in Rome, and finally bringing my husband to North America. What I didn't know is that he was living a double life, hiding the number of children he had, and a web of lies, deceit, betrayal, and deception. This is my story, and sharing it is part of my healing journey. Here I was in October 2018 on my By December 2018, I was back in Italy for my second trip. I stayed until the early part of January. By then, he had told me that he moved out and was living with a friend in Napoli. This visit felt like progress. We were building something slowly and intentionally. At the time, I believed that he only had one child, and I was told that he wasn't in contact with the child's mother and didn't even know where the child or the mother was. That was the information I had. That's what he told me. I didn't know and wouldn't learn until 2025 that within a week of me leaving Italy, that same woman, pregnant at the time, was coming to his apartment. So, this is where we are in the story. By the end of 2018, I had already been to Italy twice. I believed he had moved out and was living with a friend in Napoli. I believed there was only one child. I was told there was no contact with the child's mother and that he didn't know where she was or where the child was. At that point, I had also begun helping him financially in small, practical ways because I believed we were building toward a shared future. When I left Italy after my second trip, that was the truth I understood. What I didn't know then, and what I would not learn until years later, was that within a week of me leaving Italy, the pregnant woman, the mother of his first child, had been invited into the apartment for a visit, the apartment that I was helping to pay for. I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that at the time because I thought they were in no contact. And every decision I made was based solely on the information I had. By the time I made my third trip to Italy in May of 2019, I wasn't questioning the relationship at all. I was pouring into it. I wanted us to have shared experiences, not just routines. I wanted him to see a different side of Italy, beyond survival, beyond the day-to-day. We traveled, we explored, we experienced places together. And at that time, my focus wasn't on doubt, it was on growth. I was showing up with openness, generosity, and the belief that we were building something real. After returning home from my third trip to Italy, our relationship continued to move forward. We stayed in close contact, talking every single day, multiple times a day. By that point, it had been over a year since he had first given me a ring and asked me to marry him. With that time passed, I made the decision to move forward with the K1 visa process. At this point in time, I was still under the impression that he had no contact with the child's mother and no contact with the child. I truly believed he did not know where they were. What I did not know in 2019 was that a second son was born, and it was his. I had no knowledge of this child's existence at the time. I would only learn about him years later after he had already come to the United States. By December 2019, I went back to Italy again for the fourth time. And this time, we drove across borders together, through Paris, through Monaco, and then back to Italy. It felt like a real partnership. We were traveling, making plans, and sharing experiences. I was making sacrifices. I was sharing my time, my energy, and my resources openly. There was nothing hidden on my side. I was transparent about my life, my intentions, and what I was building toward, what I thought we were building toward together. I truly believed that same transparency existed on his side as well. At the time, I truly believed we were moving forward with the same understanding. What I didn't know then, and something I would only learn years later, was that his youngest son had already been born in Italy and was around 6 months old. I was still under the impression that he had no contact with the first child that I knew about and no contact with the child's mother. Looking back, I wonder, did I miss the red flags? I thought we were building together, but I couldn't have been farther from the truth. After I returned home from my fourth trip, this became the start of a long stretch between visits. Within a week of my return home, my daughter had her first full body seizure. When it happened, I was traveling for work, reviewing patient charts at a medical center, while my family was caring for my daughter. I thank God that my mother is a retired registered nurse because she became my rock during these early emergencies with my daughter. In the months that followed, my daughter experienced several more seizures before we were able to stabilize her through medication. We were literally learning in real time. My children's father became more physically present so he could help when I had to travel for work. It was practical, it was transparent, and it was about co-parenting, nothing else. At the same time, the world began to shut down. COVID hit, and Italy was one of the first places deeply affected. Borders closed, travel stopped, and our immigration process froze. When Nigeria was added to the list of banned countries, the K-1 visa path we had initiated became impossible to move forward. And through all of this, I continued to work and support the man I loved. His situation in Italy was unstable, and I wanted to see him win. I communicated openly and did my best to reassure him. I explained my reality honestly, even as I noticed he expressed discomfort about my children's father being around. I told him he had nothing to worry about, and at the same time, I didn't think I had anything to worry about either. By this point, we were in early spring of 2020, and COVID continued to spread. I had already retained a lawyer and started the K-1 process, so we were officially engaged now, and I was going to do everything possible for my fiancé, my husband-to-be. Unfortunately, at the time, immigration wasn't just delayed, it was frozen. Trump had added Nigerians to the list of banned countries, and though he was in Italy, his newly obtained passport was from Nigeria, which meant our K-1 visa process could not move forward. So we adapted. When one plan collapsed, we began exploring another. That's when the idea of a destination wedding came into focus, and we decided on Malta. Since I had been married before to the father of my children, I had already been through a big, lavish ceremony with over 350 of our closest family and friends, so I had no intentions or desire to do that again. And since I'd be the one footing the bill this time, it needed to be simple and affordable, but still beautiful. So I found a wedding planner and we began to discuss logistics, timelines, and requirements. Planning began to move forward and deposits were made. Meanwhile, the world continued to shut down and travel remained uncertain. Borders stayed closed, flights were canceled, and timelines dissolved. We had to cancel our plans for our wedding in Malta. Fortunately, I was able to get back some of the deposits, but the planning for a wedding stopped. We were both disappointed, but at the time, we understood this as resilience, doing what couples do when circumstances make the original plan impossible. So we kept the faith and waited, and waited, and waited.